Hello, welcome back. I'm in a weird spot here where I have a big pile of footage of attempting to do something in this puzzle and getting basically nowhere, and I'm not sure what to do with it. So right now I'm just going to put off that problem and go do something else entirely. So I have this idea in my head for what I want to do for custom specifications. Ever wonder where those spexy tests come from? We use a little program called Concept Spec to generate them. Ready to create your own specs if you want. Put a link in your desktop. Not the most elegant program, but it'll do. Good specifications, good design, poor designs. Okay, so I have a concept that I want to spec here. Let's try it. What does this look like? New specification. Histograms not available for custom specifications. Reasonable. Okay, so this has given me a Lua file. Got it. And there's a deleted directory with nothing in it. Alright, it's been a while since I wrote anything in Lua, so okay, isn't this fun? Function getName should return a single string that is the name of the puzzle. Okay, sure. So that's what I'm making. This is going to be a vector math coprocessor. The function getDescription should return an array of strings where each string is a line of description for the puzzle. Surrounding text with asterisks cause it to be rendered in bold, something we use when mentioning a signal by name. Alright. By using the syntax that we use in our puzzle descriptions, you can also create tables. Alright then. Puzzle descriptions are not automatically paginated, so you can use the string page to start a new page of text. If you don't, it will overflow and make Zach sad. Okay, so what I want to do here, I think I'm going to use a, what's this thing called? Let's see. Okay, so this page should probably be C2SRF 901. So information is going to come in and go out here. All right. Radio RX is a non-blocking XBus input connected to a radio receiver. Radio TX is a non-blocking XBus output. Connected to a radio transmitter. I don't know if that's the exact phrasing they usually use for those. But that's what it is. Okay, so what I want to do here, when a value is received from radio RX, okay, so now I have to describe what I actually want the puzzle to be. When a value is available on... Sure, well, yeah, okay, so -999, we know that's a nothing. So yeah, intermittently, Radio RX will send me a signal requesting that I do an operation on a vector. When a value is received from Radio RX, perform the vector math, perform the requested vector math operation as follows. Okay, I don't know if this format makes sense, but this is what I'm doing. I guess I could use a table here. Okay, so by using the syntax we use in puzzle descriptions, you can also create tables. So let's try this. Okay, so So this can request either cross product or dot product. Two very useful operations. Okay, well, yeah, that's actually the only difference there. So you get either a 1 or 2. Yeah, so both of these will have two 3-component vectors as input. This one has vector output, this one has scalar output. Sure, I know what I mean. It's close enough. Cross product is defined as follows. Okay, so you can add an extra comma at the end of a Lua array and it's okay with it? Alright, fair enough. Cross product is defined as follows. X1 times... No, that's not how it starts. Y1 times Z2 plus Z1 times Y2. X1 times Z2 plus Z1 times X2. Y1 times Y2... no, hang on. This is... No, it's X1 times Y2 plus X2 times Y1. Dot product is defined as follows. X1 times X2 plus... No, that's not a vector, so that's just a scalar value. Plus Y1 times Y2 plus Z1 times Z2. And one more detail. Oops. That's a really bad way to phrase that. All vectors are... Okay, so all... let's see, all multiplication... Sure. It's not the clearest possible way to phrase that, but that's what I mean. Okay, so the design of this overall is that the radio is going to request that I either perform cross product or dot product on two component vectors that are input. These are the mathematical operations, and the vectors that come in are basically 10 means 1, so that I have... it's not a lot of decimal precision, but it's at least a tiny little bit. So every time I multiply two values together, and there's obviously a lot of multiplications going on in here, I need to shift right by 1 digit, basically. So this is more or less... The puzzle of this is to kind of stress storage capabilities and multiplication. So it's a lot of math on kind of a bunch of numbers. You know, basically I have 6 input numbers and 3 output numbers in the case of cross products. 6 input numbers and 1 output number in the case of dot products. So each of these multiplications has to be done a certain way, then you have to add them together. So anyway, I think it's going to be interesting to write an implementation of a thing here. I would put normalize in here as a number 3, because that's like cross dot and normalize with vectors lets you do a lot of stuff with 3D math. Problem is normalize requires a square root, and I don't want that to have to be implemented for this. Ideally, if you want to normalize a vector, you'd be in a situation where you'd be able to use the MC4010, which actually has a square root function. Now that operates on... Okay, now what's weird about this is there are no floating point numbers in this language. Everything is an integer, so this is integer square root, which is not actually useful for a vector in the same way. Yeah, no, I think you would have to implement a separate fixed point square root for this to make sense anyway, but I'm not going to worry about that. Like, just doing the cross product and dot products together I think is interesting enough. Honestly, maybe just cross products, but it's fine. So anyway, I think that is a full specification of what I want to do. Get board, specify that, ASCII art grid to customize the layout and placement. Okay. Inputs are placed on the left, outputs are placed on the right. For empty space, use the dot. For buildable board space, use that. Input or output terminal, use characters 0 through 9, no more than once each. Okay. For the bottom left corner of the radio. Okay, sure. So let's say I would just put an R there and change these to pound signs. All right, so it does accommodate. I'm gonna allow kind of a bunch of space for this. I don't know, let's see what it feels like with a board this size. Just gonna lay down a big blobby square. Not think too hard about it. Let's put the radio here. Sure. Get data is called both to establish information about the puzzle, such as what the inputs and outputs are, and to generate the random test cases. Signal levels and XBus data should change from call to call, but information like the names and types of terminals should not change at all. Oh, okay, I gotcha. To create standard input or output terminal, call create terminal. Okay. Valid terminal types are type simple, type XBus non-blocking, valid terminal directions, input and output. Valid data for simple I/O signals, an array of integers, 0 to 100 inclusive. Sure. Valid data for XBus, -9999. Create terminal name, board character. To create a radio, C2SRF901, call create radio. You may only create one radio in each puzzle. Since radios are XBus only, the only valid data for data RX and data TX are arrays of integer arrays, each with values -999 to 999 inclusive. You cannot customize the signal names for a radio. Sure. By default, the radio will be placed in the bottom left corner of the screen. However, if you use an R character, the bottom left will be placed there instead. Okay, so I don't care where it goes. I'll let it choose default then. Okay, so create radio, data RX, data TX. Cool. To create a dial. Not going to do that. To generate random values, you should use math.random. However, you should not seed the random number generator with a new seed value, as that is how the game ensures that the first test run is consistent for all users. Sure. Oh, okay. That's something allows for comparison cycle scores. Sure. Fun fact, arrays in Lua are implemented as tables, dictionaries, with integer keys that start at 1 by convention. Contrast this with nearly every other programming language in which arrays start with an index of 0. Because of this, 60 time slices that make up a test case are indexed from 1 to 60 inclusive. All right. So there are 60 time slices in a test case. I never actually bothered counting, but now I know. Okay, and that's the entire script. Great. All right, cool. So I have my board, I have my description, and I have my name, and then I need test data, which determines what it does. Okay, so keypad is nothing. Pulse is nothing. Time is 1. What time is it? 60 do. Okay, now hang on. No, this is for the test puzzle. Okay, so I need to do something different entirely here. Do you have 2 different types of indentation here? Oh, that's terrible. I do not approve. I'm going to fix it. You know what? I'm going to properly fix it. Tabs. Space indents are a waste of space. Make you press the space character too many times. They don't allow you to do alignment properly. I do not approve of them. Tabs only. Oops. Okay. It's kind of pointless to fix it for these, but that's what I'm going to do. No, just one for that. Okay, so anyway, right, yeah, fix you. So I want, okay, right, so 60 times I need to call create terminal, so don't seed the random number generator. All right, so in Lua, I guess I can just compute what the vector, okay, so I'm gonna assume, I'm not going to assume, so what are the parameters here? Time plus math at random 1. I assume these are bounds, maybe? Probably. So minimum of 1, maximum of 6. Okay, so I'll leave that down there. Well, thanks, Sublime Text. I didn't actually want you to auto-indent, but at least you know how to use the tab character. So I'm going to be calling create radio with data rx and data tx. Okay, right, and we'll do that 60 no? No, we do it once with 2 arrays, dictionaries, etc. Okay, got it. So at the end, I'll create radio. Right, okay. So this is for one test case, but if I don't seed the random number generator each time, then my output will be different. So I assume it just seeds it to a fixed value before it starts calling get data, then calls that 80 times with the seed changing. Interesting, so I wonder if like all test cases consist of random data, including like the first ones in every... I wonder if they special case those, because it feels like the first few test cases in a lot of the puzzles have had very specific values in them to stress a certain test case, but maybe not. Maybe that's just my feeling. Okay, so anyway, eventually I'm going to be calling create radio with, let's just call this, okay, what convention do you like to use for variables? It doesn't show me here. So I'm going to use the same one as you use for function names. Data in, data out, right? It doesn't specifically say, but I'm going to say, right, that's what'll be sent on data rx, that's what wants to be received in data tx. Okay, so yeah, just call that once. Sure. Okay, so data in equals empty table, data out equals empty table. So yeah, the nice thing, even though I haven't written any Lua for a long time, I can just look at what the syntax is for this and just kind of take a guess at what I need to write for this. All right, sure. So I'll do the same kind of while loop here. Like, I wouldn't have come up with the syntax myself without having to look at a reference, but I can just look at this reference. Perfectly adequate. Okay, so, time plus, don't let the next keypad event start with plus string ends. Okay, so, so I'd want these to come in at sort of random intervals. There should be a minimum of... Hold on, right, okay, so you're doing this. Time equals 1. Well, time less than 60 do that. Oh, interesting. So you only... So this is not filling every time slice with information. This is just time plus j times 2 equals 100. So you're leaving holes in your dictionary of output values, I guess, because you're only... Yeah, I see what's going on here. Okay, well, you know what? Let's add a random delay between requests to the coprocessor. Sure. This might make... Since there's so much data... Okay, so all of the puzzles that involve sending like a bunch of XBus inputs or outputs at once, space them out so that the data will be readable. So I think I'm going to assume this is a bound. So it'll be 7 values per request. Well, hang on, before I do that, I should just, okay, yeah, so random delay, that's perfectly fine. Don't let the next kpad event start before the pulse train ends. Yes, so don't let the next request for vector something to happen before there's enough space. Okay, so Lua doesn't use semicolons, got it, to fit the data in on the radio. Okay, so type equals math.random 1, 2. If, okay, how do I do an if? If type equals 1, I don't know if that's accurate. All right, well, I need to go read a Lua reference for a moment and get to know the syntax. Let's just go forward with a guess. If it doesn't work, then maybe I can fix it there. All right, so if type is 1, then we're doing a cross product. Okay, so for this data to make sense, all right, so now I have to generate test data. So basically a vector cross product takes two. If a vector cross product is fed to two vectors that are perpendicular to each other on some plane, it returns the third vector that is perpendicular to both of them in three-dimensional space. So like if I have a vector going to the right, so x equals 1, y equals 0, z equals 0, and a vector going up, y equals 1, x equals 0, z equals 0, then I get a vector coming like out of the screen. So x equals 0, y equals 0, z equals 1. So because of the reason I chose fixed point with 1 decimal place is 1 to make it easy enough to do that with DGT, just so you can shift numbers to the right without having to do like a divide by 3 or something. Because I could define 30 as the 1 value, so you'd have to do a divide by 30 after every multiplication. But I don't want to have to implement a divide by 30 in this language. That's a super pain. So a divide by 10 is much more reasonable because I can just shift digits to the right. But also the reason to do that is because it's not very interesting to have vectors of just 1 and 0. Like you could compute a cross product of like x equals 1, y equals 0, z equals 0, y equals 1, x equals 0, z equals 0. But like then you only get orthogonal axis values. So I'm allowing some rotation and stuff. So anyway, with an arbitrary rotation, 2 perpendicular vectors. I'm going to have to do some vector math in Lua now. And that's going to be fiddly, so give me a second. Alright, so I went with something kind of simple. I'm doing nothing to ensure that vectors are perpendicular, which I think is totally fine because the math still works just fine. Alright, so I have this random vector function here. I also looked up a Lua reference and learned some things about how it works. So hopefully this will make sense here. Alright, so I'll call random vector when I want an input value. So it just gives me a table with x equals somewhere between -10 and 10, y equals that, z equals that. So just any random vector of any length, any direction, whatever. It doesn't matter. It's fine. So then this will take 2 outputs from that and give me what I expect the result to be for cross product. This will do the same for dot product. So everything is integer math. All multiplications come with a division by 10 because that's what's going to have to happen here to keep the fixed point thingy in place. So this implements cross product, this implements dot product. Looks good to me. So now I just have to populate my test data with them and then see what Shenzhen I thinks of this. I believe I can ditch all of this code now. All right. So what I have to do is, okay, so if type equals 1, okay, so now hang on, doesn't matter what type is, vector 1 equals random vector. I want to generate 2 vectors regardless. If type equals 1, okay, right, yeah, okay, data out, yeah, okay, so this makes sense. Data out time equals, okay, so cross equals cross vector. Let's just call this cross result. Cross result equals cross vector. So 1 was cross product, right? I think. Could be the cross product, yes. So 1 is cross, 2 is dot. Maybe it makes sense to have those the other way around, but that's the way I've chosen. Cross result equals cross vector. Vector 1, vector 2. Data out time equals cross result dot x, cross result dot y, cross result dot z. Else data out time equals dot vector that. Okay, great. So then I just, okay, so data in time equals type vector 1.x, vector 2.x, vector, whoa, no, other way around, vector 1.y, y, vector 1.z, and then vector 2 for all of those. Okay. I think in theory this might be, let's see, I can change this to no, 7 is, 6 is fine since that's that bound. I think in theory this might be a complete program now. Compilation failed. Chunk 0, unexpected symbol near colon, okay. 100, is that line number? Yes. I did make a mistake there. So that should be better Lua syntax. Unexpected symbol near equals, really? Okay, that I didn't expect, so I have something wrong with my Lua syntax here. To me it looks like this should work, but apparently I'm incorrect. Okay, looking at the Lua reference, it sounds like if I am assigning a value within a table, I use a semicolon to separate values. It's only comma if I'm just doing like, you know, assigning indexes 1, 2, 3. So it seems like it would want this, and therefore you would also want that there. And this will be correct as it is. Okay, how's that? Unexpected symbol near equals. That was not the problem. All right, so it might well be that I just don't even use quotes for field initializers here. That sounds plausible. So let's see what it thinks of that. Are you happy yet? Hey, that's much better. Okay, when creating an XBus timing diagram, the data must be an array of integer arrays between that and that. That's what it is, but somehow it's not. Data in equal, okay, so when creating an XBus timing diagram, the data must be an array of, so my Lua is correct, but my Shenzhen I API usage is incorrect. Array of integer arrays. Array, data, time, integer, equals array of integers. I wonder if, okay, so here's a possibility. Math.random, when called without arguments, returns a pseudo-random float. I wonder if I'm getting floating point values. When called with two integers m and n, math.random is a pseudo-random integer with uniform distribution in the range of mn. So no, that shouldn't be the problem. I don't think it's because random is putting floats in my array, right? This shouldn't be promoting integers to floats or anything. This is all integer math here. Probably, unless, okay, so in some languages there's a separate integer division operator. So I wonder if this perhaps in Lua turns an integer into a float. It's not impossible, but I feel like there's probably something else wrong. Like, for example, this. This is the problem. Okay, this is the problem, probably. So data out, okay, so dot result, because that's putting a table in there instead of an array of integers. Dot result equals dot vector that. Out time equals dot result dot x dot result dot y dot result dot z. Okay, how about that? Attempt to index a number value, line 130. Oh, right, of course. Oops. Oh, so right, that returns a scalar. So the problem is I didn't wrap the scalar in a table. That's all that it was. Okay, so I sort of thought ahead, but sort of didn't. Okay, so check it. This compiled. Open in concept pad. New design 1. Part not on board. I mean, that's fine, I guess. Okay, this board is way too small. That turned smaller than I expected it to be. I'm going to rearrange this. I mean, that makes sense. Yeah, I'm going to give you all the space. You can have literally the entire board for this. I don't see any need to restrict it. So how's that look for radio placement? It'll probably still put it not on board. Okay, so just to be nicer, I'm going to stick this here. I like the live reload that it's doing. But, okay, so I'm going to trash that and make a new design. So, right, it probably in the design it saved where the radio was. There we go. So you're on the board now. Cool. That table didn't work at all. Oh dear. Okay. Also, I got some weird bolding in here that doesn't work at all. Okay, so it's unhappy with my syntax here. But... okay, so you're asking for a dot product there, cross product here. This doesn't have enough values in it. Where's the third? Okay, a lot of dot products are being asked for. This goes off the edge of the thing. I'm gonna pad this a little bit just so that things don't go off the edge. I'm gonna say that's 53. So you don't put something so far to the right that this happens. I'm gonna change my request timing a little bit. Let's see, so that means that theoretically that could go off the edge. So I need to do that, I think. Time is time plus 6? Yes, okay, that seems right. It doesn't have to be padded out so much, that's fine. Okay, what else was I changing? Right, my descriptions, they're terrible. The table doesn't work at all. Radio RX is a non-blocking X bus input connected to radio receiver. Radio TX is a non-blocking X bus output connected to radio transmitter. When value is received from radio RX, perform the requested vector math operation as follows, transmitting the result to radio TX. I probably just missed a vertical bar somewhere in my thingies. It looks to me like I have all of them. I have an extra space here. Does that matter? Probably not. Oh, you don't put a trailing vertical bar. Got it. So I had an extra table column. But I need a separator for the rows. Okay, so row separator. Also, you probably want a fixed row width, don't you? Okay, so I'll have to do manual line breaking. Or just not. Think about it. But what did this even do? What's that X? Oh, radio TX, okay. text here. Okay, so table should be that width. That width, maybe. Why? Where? Okay, so save. Oh, compilation failed. Oh, right, I forgot a comma. Histogram is not available. That's still super terrible. Something's not working right. The 2 is there, I can see. It's underneath that thing. I don't need to say write it to radio TX part here because that's stated elsewhere. Compute the cross product of the 2 and anyway, yeah, this is just obvious. Let's just trim this down to 3-component input vectors. Compute the dot product of the 2 3-component input vectors that follow. Yeah, so XYZ will be written to you immediately after that. But, like, why is this being weird about it? Like, is it just because I had too much text there? Yes, that's all that it was. So I don't like that this goes all the way down. The pagination something something. Zach will be sad. You can use the string page to start a new page of text. I don't want a new page, I just want it to go over to the right. Like, I want this to be over here. Maybe it doesn't know how to perform the requested vector math operation as given in the table at right. So ideally, maybe if I put this last... I don't know, just trying to trick the game into displaying this in a nice way now. It didn't work. How do I get you to go over here? Array of strings where each string is a line of description for the puzzle. Surrounding text with asterisks will cause it to be rendered in bold. By using nice weather descriptions, create tables, puzzle descriptions, not automatically paginated. Okay, let's try paging. Maybe it knows that page 2 can fit here and won't put it there. That's plausible. So go out here, save, it will have reloaded. This is neat. Okay, so I just had to page it that way. That's much better. Okay, so radio RX is a non-blocking X bus input connected to a radio receiver. There. Radio TX, non-blocking, blah. When a value is received from radio RX, perform the requested vector math operation as given in the table at right, transmitting the result to radio TX. Compute the cross product of the 2 3-component input vectors that follow. Compute the dot product of the 2 3-component input vectors that follow. Dot product is defined as the follows. Okay, now why is this? Oh shoot! I need an asterisk symbol that doesn't cause bolds. How do I escape that? Yeah. Okay, so my asterisks aren't coming through there. Can I backslash it? And if so, how many times? Backslash works. Great. Okay, so 2 backslashes. So a literal backslash in the string that Shenzhen I reads. Great. Okay, it's intuitive. Makes sense. Alright, is this a complete spec yet? I don't know if it's a fun puzzle, but I think it at least functions as a puzzle, technically speaking. This is ugly. Let's put... Okay, I can make it prettier. Let's put this at the very end after the table. I wonder if it reloads when I'm on that screen. I didn't check. I don't like that this line breaks this way. Also, this is like not very readable. Cross product. No, it's not fine. I don't like it. I don't like it. I want to make it nice. So let me just shorten this somehow. Cross product definition. Okay, so let's test if it reloads from this screen. Cross product definition. Dot product definition. Oops. Whoa, what did I just do? I pressed Control B and that popped something up in my Sublime text. I don't know what that was. Alright. It did not reload, so I have to go back here, then it reloads, and now this fits on one line. Okay. That works just fine. This is not super readable, but I think it's as readable as it needs to be. You can get the information out of there. If you're playing this game, you're used to reading tiny text like this. Okay, and the verification looks totally plausible. This is as close to overlapping as it gets, and it didn't overlap. Radio RX, radio TX. Okay, so there's not a lot of inputs and outputs. You get all this board space to just do whatever you have to do for a bunch of multiplication with fixed point values here. I guess that's the dot product of those. Okay. Oh, wait, but there's still this problem where I'm only getting 2 values there. Why is that? That's a much more major problem here. Been futzing with my description and not fixing the real one. Data out time is crossed. No, that's right. I was just confused by the fact that these are prepended by command numbers and the fact that this was a 1. I saw that 1 together with the 1. And thought that like, okay, that's a command, and then I only get 2 components of the vector. No, 3 components, it's right. X is 1, Y is 4, Z is -8. Dot product is -8. Dot product -11. A lot of dot products here. Okay, and that's the cross product of that. Okay, so that looks completely reasonable to me. So next time, now that I've created the specification, I'm going to attempt to solve this and see how it feels to solve it. Maybe it'll turn out to be impossible, maybe it'll turn out to be trivial, maybe it'll turn out to be a cool, fun, balanced puzzle that I don't have to mess with anymore. But anyway, yeah, so that should be fun. So I designed the puzzle, next time I'm going to solve it. Alright, I'll see you then for that.